Hi, hello everybody. Estela's been out for about a day now, and I know a lot of you are curious on just how you should build her, what you should equip on her, and some extra strategies on how to get the most out of playing her. Now to start out, Estela is going to be a strong offense unit. She deals very good damage, and she uses the rapid fire weapons, the machine gun and pulse rifle. However, the weapons are very much not the focus on Estela. She will be primarily dealing ability damage, so with that in mind, it makes hitting her a lot more simple of a task. When it comes to her pulse rifles, I believe the best option is going to be the Furies 3. However, if you want to run an exotic LMG, there isn't really much difference between the Ultimatum and the DEL2 Sweet Ears. Both of them have very average perks. Annihilation and Ensured Yields is probably the best role on this one, and Ultimatum's best perks are probably going to be Fraternity and Klepdystra. Though neither of these are going to be standout options, Ultimatum has better perks, however, the DEL3 has a higher rate of fire, so it might help you build stacks faster. Though, the Furies 3 I believe is going to be the best exotic option for her, because the Scorched Earth LMG is going to be a very adequate option when it comes to rapidly building up stacks for her summons. And when it comes to the Scorched Earth LMG, there also isn't really much when it comes to the perks available on it. Fraternity is going to be the best option, and it's really either a toss-up between Eager Aspirant and Klepdystra, but honestly, the perks on this weapon don't really matter this much. Just get double mythics, and I guess mythics that you can perk upgrade, and that's really all you need. The weapon damage on Estela is so minimal compared to her ability damage that it's going to be such a small gain in terms of your DPS and total damage going for perks on this weapon. And I'm saying this is going to be the difference between doing like 1,000,000 damage and like 1,005,000 damage. It's essentially a rounding error going for perks on her mythic weapons. So with that in mind, considering how ability damage focused Estela is, now I'm going to show you my recommendations for what I believe is going to be the strongest build for her currently. For the Lightling Companions, I believe the Solar Ability Boost from Wolf is going to be one of the strongest options. It's going to be 5%. It's going to be 5% at maximum, and you'll gain this just by progressing through the game. We're currently capped at 4.5%, but on Monday when the Acclaim levels rise, we will get the full 5%, and I believe Debuff Extension from Umeko is going to be the other strongest option, because Estela won't really have much benefit from gaining extra health, shield, or increasing the duration of buffs applied by her abilities, because I don't even think that she gets buffs from her abilities whatsoever. She is going to have a decent selection of options on her. If we go to my spreadsheet and take a look at the build recommendations, you can see the artifacts that I recommend for Estela and any alternate options that you would have. I believe Warding Pact and Ring of Conversion is going to be a very popular combination. Warding Pact for a large amount of damage resistance, 33% at max level, and Ring of Conversion so that she gains some extra overshield whenever her summons attack enemies, and she gains that healing while at full HP. And I'll demonstrate that later, though another good option will be Unrelenting Ground and Unrelenting Evolution. Now, you're not going to want to pair Warding Pact with Unrelenting Evolution because you're going to have Warding Pact almost entirely up, and Unrelenting Evolution only gives you the damage resistance effect when you lose and refresh a DR, so you will not be getting more stacks of armored every single time you summon. You will only gain it when you don't have a summon and when you put a new summon on the field. When it comes to the third slot, the Bellicose Pact I believe is going to be the strongest option for her. It's just a flat increase to her summon damage, which is basically her entire damage. So it's essentially just a flat buff to her entire kit. And finally, Resonating Pact. When summons attack the same target as the wielder, they will deal increased damage. Now there is one other summon artifact in this slot that I do think bears mentioning, and it's Responsive Pact, which states that casting signature abilities grants summons a plus 24 attack damage for 6 seconds. Now if we take a look at my spreadsheet, we can see that the numbers for both these are very similar. Resonating Pact is higher, but why would I recommend Resonating Pact? It's for the simple fact that her summons have extremely high uptime. So even though the summons will gain a damage buff whenever you summon them, you will likely not be maintaining that damage buff. Additionally, when there is a strong enemy on the field, you would want to be attacking them as well so that you can gain more misfortune and increase the levels of your future summons. So with that in mind, Resonating Pact is going to apply when you need it to, and Responsive Pact isn't going to apply when you don't really need it to, and it's going to have much less uptime for important targets. And additionally, this is when they are attacking the same target that you attack. So when you inflict a target with your Misfortune's Guide, it is also going to proc that effect. Also, one other thing to note about Estela's kit is that her inherent Lightning companion will increase her solar damage while standing still. So that means when you are doing most of your damage with Estela, you are going to want to be standing completely still, otherwise you're missing out on a 7.5% multiplicative damage increase. Now, when it comes to playing Estela, you are going to want to be summoning, and then you're going to want to be building up your stacks for the next summon. So in the practice range, I can throw out this summon right here, and it's going to attack the enemies. And if I hit it with Misfortune's Guide, it's going to immediately attack them, and it's going to make them deal more damage. And as you can see with the Ring of Conversion, I am getting health every single second, and if I start attacking them, my summon will also start dealing more damage as I build up more stacks. Additionally, I can hit them with Misfortune's Guide again, and I have another summon available. And so long as I'm constantly hitting targets, I will be building up towards the next summon. Now, this is going to build up rather slowly if you don't do certain things. For instance, it would build up a lot faster if you have the second Catalyst ban for the Furies 3. So that is something you may want to look out for. And you're pretty much going to want to cast her Misfortune's Guide, the Q ability, as much as you possibly can. And maintaining a good amount of summons on the field is going to be very important. It is worth it to put out a level 2 summon if it will help you keep 3 summons on the field, but obviously it's not going to be realistic to keep 3 level 3 summons on the field at the same time. But as you can see here, they're all doing significant amounts of damage to the target. And I can show off a DPS rotation using the LMG. So if I get a full stack, which you would probably take into a DPS rotation, we can summon, press F to summon the super, alright, and then immediately just start laying into him with the LMG, and you will see just how fast that stacks up. Alright, you can do a reload cancel on the LMG, and you can keep doing it. However, my summons are all out, so it's not like I'm losing very much damage on it. I can cast more Misfortune's Guide. That's another big burst, and you can see in just 20 seconds, I dealt 3 million damage on Estela that only has Relic Ability 16. So that means she will gain even more damage when you have her at maxed. Obviously, the exotic LMGs are worth mentioning. Gallows is going to have a much lower rate of fire, but because of its grenades, it will give you stacks upon every single hit of those. And the Heir Apparent is going to have a magazine size that it will last an entire DPS phase for Isakis if you're looking at that. However, I do believe that the Furies 3 is going to be one of the best options for general play outside of pure DPS phases. When it comes to stunning Shinkas, you are going to want to use the LMG over any pulse rifle option. As you can see right here with the Furies 3, I'm just laying into it, and if I had magazine upgrade or if I had anything else, I would have defeated it slightly faster. So with slightly more investment on my exotic, I would have been able to break the shield slightly faster. However, if we just equip the LMG, you can see that it's going to shred it almost instantly. It's going to be less than a second, and it will not take nearly as much ammo or time. So in that case, you can use the LMG as a utility weapon, especially because your summons are going to be dealing the majority of the damage. So obviously when it comes to Estela, you're going to want to be using her pulse rifle for most general situations, and you're going to want to use her LMG for when you need to take down a big target really quickly, or for when you need to build up a lot of stacks for her summons, especially when you're attacking a big target, and DPS, and you would also help use it to stun Sheikah champions, preferably over the primary option due to just how much faster it will stun them. And you will want to remember that you're going to want to stand still in order to deal the most damage with her because of her inherent light link. We can see right here that it's 1022 when I'm standing still, and when I'm strafing, it lowers all the way up to 954. And that's because Estela is losing that multiplicative weapon damage from her inherent, and it also applies to all of her summons. And that's why I put Unrelenting Ground and Unrelenting Evolution as a combination that you can run on Estela, because it would give you more damage resistance, especially because the Ring of Conversion isn't going to be super strong on her, though I do believe it's going to be the most popular option among people. Additionally, when it comes to attributes, Recovery Boost and Defense Boost are obviously going to be really good. Healing Boost is going to be good as well, and you could really run any other defensive boost that applies here. When it comes to her attributes, ability strength is by far going to be the best option for her. Signature boost is going to be another really strong option on her, alongside solar boost and super boost. You don't really want weapon enhancement because Estela is not going to deal nearly as much weapon damage as other units, so it makes a lot more sense to buff her own abilities rather than to just try and make up some difference when it comes to the damage that she deals with her own weapons. She's kind of opposite to Wolf in that fact, where Wolf has almost no ability damage but has really high weapon damage. Estela has very little weapon damage and very high ability damage. And to cap it all off, we can take a look at Estela's talent tree. At talent 1, it'll give her and her summons some more survivability and recovery when you or your summons attack a misfortune inflicted target. Next up is Overflowing Calamity, which will make summons do a kamikaze when their timer expires, doing a pretty significant burst of solar damage, though both of these are nice, but they aren't really necessarily game changing on Estela. So if you're looking at getting extra copies on her, you might want to look further along. At level 3, it'll increase the durations of her summons to 42 seconds, and this is almost double. This is going to be an exceptionally good talent for her. Talent 4 makes it so that the additional damage that her summons deal to misfortune-inflicted targets is increased to 50%. Soul Soothing will make it so that her summons will just at base deal 20% more damage, and at Talent 6, it will give her passive corruption generation both in combat and out of combat, and the corruption granted by causing an accident with her weapon mastery is increased to 10. So the first two aren't really that great, but each one after will give you significant improvements to Estela's own performance. So if you are somebody who likes going that deep into an investment, you can. However, it's not necessary in order to make her viable. She is still an excellent character at tier 0 and does not require any extra talents to make her feel any better than she does at base. So with that all out of the way, I hope you all are coming out of this video with a better understanding of Estela, how to kit her, and the reasons why some things matter and some things don't matter as much for her. She is definitely a really strong unit, and her Shinka stunning capabilities are not hindered at all by being an ability damage unit rather than being a weapon damage unit because she uses rapid fire weapons. So that's about all I have for this beginner's guide on Estela. If you're enjoying my content and would like to keep up to date on everything regarding Destiny Rising, then subscribing to my channel would be the best option for you. I would like to hear your thoughts about Estela down below. If you think she's strong, if you'd prefer more weapon-focused units, put what you're thinking in the comments below. Also, the spreadsheet that I used in this video is being regularly updated, and it is linked in the description, so give it a look for build recommendations on all the relevant units. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I will see you next time.